And we are live. I'm back with Khemit Bailey for the second time, and we have an exciting announcement for today. So welcome.
Thanks, man. Good to be back.
Yeah, for those of you who might not remember, Khemit was on we went live a couple weeks ago to announce his Facebook group where he does future authoring collaboration. And it's this awesome Facebook group where people are essentially self-authoring. They're taking the self-authoring suite programs and they're kind of sharing that information together. But today you have an even different announcement, which is a challenge. So I'm just going to let you take it away.
All right, cool. Yeah. Actually, since we did that video, which was great, one was a lot of fun. So thanks for having me on. But two, I think a lot of people actually joined after that. We went from about 400 people in the group to like something around 650 or so now. And it's been climbing like that since we started it. So it's a really cool place for everybody who's looking to get into future authoring or self-authoring.
Yeah.
But today I wanted to talk about we're actually starting a challenge. And it's called the 5-day Do It Badly Future Authoring Challenge. And so it's basically exactly what it sounds like. We're taking all the best advice on how to get through future authoring and applying it over the course of 5 days to actually get through the whole program in just a week. Which sounds ridiculous, but that's why it's the Do It Badly challenge.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And when does it start?
It's going to start on Monday, June 3rd.
Right on.
Yeah.
And how do people join the challenge?
Yeah, well, I've got I'll actually send you a link. I should have included those before, but I'll send you a link to the landing page. There's just like a sign up, and then once you sign up, you get an email with all the info. And so it's, of course, it's a free challenge. It's just anybody who's working on future authoring and actually wants to get through it with all these other folks who are going to be doing it.
Is it on your Facebook group?
No, it's not actually. I mean, yeah, actually, yeah, it is. It is. I posted about it earlier today.
Okay, because I'm just pulling that up right now.
Yeah, I think it's the last post.
Announcing. Okay, great. So I'm going to just pop this into the description so people can join.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So what made you want to do this?
Well, honestly, the same thing that made me want to start the group, which is the fact that I have experience with online courses and recognize how horrifically low the completion rates on them are. And I also recognize, it's like, somewhere around like 20% for a really good course.
Wow.
And so, and I also recognize, in contrast with that, the great benefit that you can get from actually finishing the self-authoring program or any of the programs inside of it. Yeah. And so I wanted to try to shrink that gap, between the number of people starting out on the path of future authoring or self-authoring, and then the number of people actually finishing it and getting the results.
Got it.
And so this challenge actually addresses, I think, a lot of the issues that people have with getting through self-authoring. And so, so it's like, after running the group for, I think it's been about 4 or 5 months now, we've got a chance to have a lot of conversations and get a lot of good insights on like where people get tripped up or what stops people.
Yeah.
And having done that, I feel like this challenge, more so than any of the other tactics that we've kind of tried before to help people move forward, is like the perfect way to get through it.
Fantastic. So, well, it's in the description. I just put it in the description. So if you want to check this out, everyone, just go to the Do It Badly link there where it says join us here in the description. It starts on June 3rd, and you can just stumble forward clumsily into the future authoring program. So right on. We have a comment here, a couple comments. The Catch Production says, I've started it and I'm quite enjoying it so far. Thanks for this, guys. Right on. Yeah. Well, so that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I should also say, even for people who have started it, but they've been working on it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years in some cases, even for people like that who, if they want to get in on the challenge, it's a good way to get yourself that first draft. So it's 5 days and we're doing 20 minutes a day. So it's like actually really a curtailed version of what you would normally do, but it gives you like that first draft so that you have something to go back and change, because it's going to change anyway. Like nobody writes the first perfect pass of future authoring. It always has to go back and get like updated. And so just having something there, like it's like writing an essay where you get a rough draft first and then you can edit it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how I did the future authoring when I first did it. I just started writing and then I went back, and I didn't hold myself to a perfectionist standard.
Yeah, well, that's it's actually number 2 on my list of like the 3 big mistakes that people, or not mistakes, it's the 3 things that really jam people up when they're doing future authoring. And like, the first one is false starts. You know, people get started and they are really ambitious and they like, you know, go for an hour really hard and then they never look back at it and they feel crappy about it for months after. And then perfectionism is the other one. Like everybody, especially people who are really conscientious, they just want to like do it right, despite the fact that there's no really doing it right. You know, it's kind of, you have to do it for yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
And then the third one on that list is uncertainty. A lot of people like are very uncertain. They're like not sure what they want to put in each box, so they kind of just waver back and forth for a while.
They don't know what to aim at.
Yeah, exactly. Or they don't know. You know, I think that for the uncertainty issue, I think a lot of times what people are thinking about is what they want in the future, as opposed to who they want to be.
Right.
And so that makes it hard because they're like, oh, I don't know what job I want to have in 5 years. And it's like, no, well, you don't have to figure that out right now. But you can say what kind of qualities you'd like to have or as a person in 5 years. That's probably something a little more stable.
Yes. Yeah. Griswold Grimm says future authoring is hard because be careful what you wish for. That's an interesting perspective. You know, like, could you create a future that you don't want? Type of thing.
You certainly could. In fact, by not planning ahead, you almost certainly are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There is that aspect, and then there's also the aspect of if you ask for something and then when you get it, you're like, I can't believe I actually wanted all this responsibility.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to a Jordan Peterson lecture a little while ago. He was talking about, you know, if you sit on the edge of your bed for a while and think about, you know, what stupid thing you could be doing better that you're not doing well now.
Right.
What you're asking for is wisdom, and like with wisdom comes, like you said, responsibility. Like,
yes,
it's really hard to know the right thing to do and then not do it. It's almost easier not to know.
Yes. Yeah.
But then you suffer for other reasons.
Yeah, and Peterson talks about how we're aiming creatures. We need to have an aim. It's not, being aimless almost isn't an option. And he kind of talks about that in Maps of Meaning. It's not that when you feel like life is meaningless, it's not that you actually think it's meaningless. You're just perceiving it as meaning something negative.
Right.
Because when someone says life is meaningless, that's not an objective perspective. That's a negative statement typically that they're saying, like life doesn't mean anything. Whereas if you say it, life has negative meaning or positive meaning, that gives it a whole different perspective. So like which am I aiming for? Because Peterson kind of divides it into those two options. He doesn't really allow for a gray area in the delivery of his lectures, at least, where you're kind of just in between. It doesn't really mean anything good. It doesn't really mean anything bad, because he really thinks that we're either moving towards the good or we're not. Yeah. And so that's an interesting perspective when thinking about doing the future authoring. What are you aiming for? What do you want? Are you aiming towards resentment and bitterness and fear, or are you aiming towards something that would be good for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it exactly right. I mean, and I agree to some. I agree with. We were talking about Maps of Meaning, and I think that's also his main critique when he talks about postmodernism as a philosophical standpoint. Is that it's like a good arguing tactic. It's a good way of divorcing meaning from anything that has to do with reality, or from saying there are no grand narratives. Like, grand narratives don't actually exist. But the problem is that from a phenomenological standpoint, as a sensing person being, you can't live outside of a framework of value. And so if you, like you said, if you try to get rid of that framework of value, then you find yourself with a new framework, but it's not the one that you've chosen. It's negative.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the question that's posed is it even possible to live without a value framework, right? And I think Peterson would say no. And I think you just explained that great. We've got another comment here. The Catch Productions. Sorry to interrupt you guys, but I found I put off starting it initially because I felt I had to make a clear 3 to 4 day period. And I also found myself going off on tangents, even with the simple questions. And yeah, don't worry about interrupting us. Right into the chat as much as you want. This is just about announcing this 5-day challenge. So Khemit, do you have a response to that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that also is the reflection of kind of the perfectionist uncertainty issue. And the answer to both those, and this is why the challenge is the do it badly challenge. I really think that advice is so great. Anybody who hasn't seen that video on YouTube, you can go look it up. It's just Do It Badly, Jordan Peterson. He explains better than I could why that's a good way to start. But the short version is, all those things that user just described, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, is things that are, that you can get over by just doing it. Anytime you get jammed up, like for us, we have 5 days, 20 minutes a day. That means that in 20 minutes, you're gonna have to get through a certain amount of topics that are in future authoring. And when you get to that point where you say, oh, I'm not sure what to write here, I'm uncertain, or I'm going off on a tangent, you really have to curtail it and come back into the actual exercise so that you just power through. I think by doing that, it gives you almost an outline, because future authoring provides you an outline, a basic outline, but this is going to give you an outline that's specific to you. And then, you can go back and write as many tangents as you want. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I love the 20 minutes a day thing, because then it's like, it's hard to get afraid of getting too bogged down or wasting all your time doing it, because it's only 20 minutes a day for 5 days.
Exactly right.
Easy. So, that's great. I love this challenge. Just total, just recklessly stumble into it, and don't try to be a perfectionist. And 20 minutes a day for 5 days, everyone. If you're listening right now and you haven't done future authoring, what is it, like $15?
Oh yeah, it's if you buy the whole suite, it's $29, and that's a 2-for-1 deal.
Okay, so if you do all the authoring programs, it's $29. If you do just one, it's just the future authoring, it's $15. And I mean, I'm not getting paid anything. I'm not affiliated with it. I wish I was, because I push it so much. But maybe someday I'll be able to, somehow benefit off that personally. But really, it's just a good thing to go do. And 20 minutes a day for 5 days, $15. Hard not to just give it a shot if you haven't done it. I mean, what's there to lose? You lose. Worst case scenario is you lose, that much time of your life, which is nothing in the long run. Right.
And I don't think that it's possible to actually, do the program with the right intention and not come out of it with something, Even if you come out slightly more confused, that's a clarification. But so it's 20 minutes a day for 5 days. I'm actually organizing it more than I would just a normal Facebook challenge too. So I'm going to have web pages that have daily videos that I'm making. And the daily videos are like me explaining, here are the tasks for the day. Here are some tips about this particular section of future authoring that'll help you, get over this part. Because, in the beginning, you have to make some choices about, the number of things you want to choose. There's like 8, I'm blanking on the word right now, goals. And as you're choosing your 8 goals, some people get stuck there. So I have some tips for how to not get stuck there. And basically just encouragement also to get people going with it. And so it's going to be like a whole thing. I'm giving away prizes. There's actually prizes too.
What?
And I'm not making any money off of this either. So it's kind of like, I just wanted to try this to see if it worked. I wanted to really go all in on it this first time and see how helpful I could make it. And so there's like daily prizes. We're going to be giving away like Amazon gift cards, maybe some Jordan Peterson merch, depending. And then
you get prizes for caring about yourself. All right, everyone. That's just too good of a deal.
In case you needed like something other than just like a motivational vision of the future.
Yes. Couple more comments here. Griswold Grimm says, "So is this a Facebook thing?"
It's partially run on Facebook. Like there's actually going to be a Facebook group associated with the challenge.
Okay.
But the sign up, the link that you send to goes to a web page where there's a sign up, and then after you've signed up, you get an email that gives you a link to the group. It'll give you some other information, like specifics about the challenge and when it starts and all that kind of stuff. So
come on, let's see how many people we can get on this challenge. What if we got like 100 people to do it? That would be. How many people are signed up right now? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't looked back. I've been working.
All right, everyone. 20 minutes a day. Griswold Grimm says lobster hat ? Is that one of your prizes?
I'll check the price. I gotta keep the cost low, so I don't know how much a lobster hat costs. But if it's the same price as like the Amazon gift cards, that could be an option.
He always has the best comments. I love it. The Catch Production says, "I found it's taking shape and I'm making notes alongside what I'm entering into the laptop. This is giving me a good contemplation time and I'm exploring it." Hey, I have a question. Could Catch Productions join you even though they already started?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I actually encourage people who, if you started it and you feel stuck at a certain point, or if you started a long time ago and haven't finished, or if you just started it recently and you wouldn't mind having some support around it, some structure around it, anyone who's in any of those situations can join. Or of course, if you haven't started at all, I think it's really for everyone.
Ooh, we just have a comment that says the bit.ly link is not working. What?
Oh, really?
Okay, let me see. Let me check it on Facebook.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, it's the link is broken, brother. Shit. Okay, sorry everyone. We'll get you the right link to but in the description you can also check out the Facebook group that is the self-authoring collaboration group that's in the description. We'll go ahead and get that fixed for you as soon as possible, right, Khemit?
Yeah, I'll get that. I'll pull up right now.
You can work on it now, and I'll keep everyone entertained. I'll be a circus freak for a few minutes.
My grammar will get worse.
Mercury's here. Mercury Black. How you doing, buddy? It's so good to hear from you. You say you're doing great things, Khemit. Thanks for coming on to share your resources and encouragement with the community. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
nice
I think we're
virtually, Mercury.
Yeah. Actually, Merc, if you want to join us, I don't know if you're too tired or what's going on in your life right now, but I'm going to send you the link just in case you want to pop in. If not, then that's fine. But I'm going to email you the link to join or message you on Messenger. And if you want to just pop on in and join us, and the more the merrier. So hold on a second, everyone. I'm going to try to get Mercury the link here. But yeah, so
I just sent you in the chat, Ryan. The link that should be working. It looks like it's working for me. So
all right, everyone. Okay, great. So I'll fix that, and everybody just bear with us here for a second. I'm going to send the stream here to Merc, and if he wants to pop in, he can. If not, then that's fine, and then we'll fix that link to the Future Authoring Do It Badly challenge. Again, everybody, it's like, what is 100 minutes of your life? 100 minutes of your life, 20 minutes a day for 5 days, and only $15 with a group of people that are all caring about themselves and trying to support each other. Go check it out. I'll get the link fixed here in a second. But really, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, I mean that's really the I mean, not only what do you have to lose, but what do you have to gain? You know, I mean, you need, like Jordan Peterson always talks about, you need something pushing you, something that you don't want chasing you, right? And that's obviously the uncertainty of a dismal future, and then you want something also to look forward to, and so you get both. You get that ×2 with this. You have
absolutely
exercise, I think, and other things. I think it's going to be pretty fun because the group, I'm planning to have like some activities in there. The prizes are going to be given to people who interact the most in the group, or like who tell their story basically of doing future authoring each day. So each day we're doing 20 minutes, and then after that 20 minutes is up, you basically will go into the Facebook group and share your experience. Was it hard? Was it easier than you thought? Did you not get anywhere? Like, did you spend way more time? Like, all that kind of stuff is it's all things that we can share with each other that I think make the exercise so much better. I think absolutely the accountability and the collaboration together is like, I mean, it's the best way to get through this, and a lot of other things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the link is fixed now in MailChimp, or it's a MailChimp link, but it's fixed in the description, and I also popped it into the live stream. So multitasking here. So excuse me for my split attention. All right.
I'm fascinated with your ability to do that.
It's not really an ability. It's kind of just juggling. It's like I'm trying to half pay attention to a lot of things. Mercury's here. Hey, buddy. We did it. We recruited him.
Hello. I'm not here.
You're muted, Merc, so you have to press the mute button. Oh, shit. I did that goddamn thing where it gets stuck on one person.
Oh, did you?
I don't know how to fix that either. That's so annoying when that happens.
Who's it stuck on?
Right now it's... Oh, I fixed it. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Merc, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. You playing with your kid?
Is Mercury the small child or the adult?
Yes. Violet's here with
Hi,
me.
Violet.
We wanted to say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Greetings. Violet, is it?
Fun family time.
Naked baby.
Okay.
Naked baby.
Okay, you go cut your pizza. I'm going to say hi to them, okay? Okay, you cut
All right. Looks like Michael Adams says the link is working fine now, and he is signed up. Awesome, Michael. We're so glad that you're signed up. And you also say that Jordan Peterson is amazing, and I already have the full future authoring package, but I haven't been following through with it. So fantastic. We're so glad you're doing this.
That's awesome.
And
really good.
yeah.
And if you Michael, if you're, you'll join the 5-day challenge group through the link I just sent you. But if you want to join our future authoring self-authoring collaboration group, also we have resources for other parts of the suite also. So
Awesome. Dust to Dust is here. Hey, Dust to Dust. Last comment from the Catch Productions. Even despite all the knowledge of the positive audience, I still find myself feeling quite alone in discovering this. Just discovering this chat has motivated me loads. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and actually, I want to say something. So, the whole point of this YouTube channel is to build community, to build a positive community. And that's the point of what Khemit's doing. And that's why we're collaborating. That's why we're doing live streams together. So what we're doing here is trying to build a community of people that care about working on themselves, that want to improve their lives by their own definition. And we're building a network. So please be a part of it if you want to. Join us here on Sorting Myself Out. Go check out the Self-Authoring Collaboration group on Facebook. And we can all continue to support one another. Michael Adams says, where can I find those resources, Khemit?
You can find them either through the links in the group announcements in the Self-Authoring Collaboration group, or you can actually go to I have my website. They're all hosted through my website, which is thecharacterarc.com. So that's thecharacterarc.com/resources. So either of those places you can find it.
Yeah. And hey, Merc, I have an idea for you. If you want to just hit the mute button when you're not talking, because the background noise is a bit loud, and then when you want to talk, just hit the mute button again and unmute yourself. How's that?
Okay. I've got the mute button right here, but actually I just wanted to say something quick to Khemit. I really like everything you're doing over on the group. I'm not very active with social media at all, so I haven't been posting. But I've checked out the group a couple times in the posts. I think it's fantastic what you're doing, and
thank you.
Great work.
Yeah, I saw when you guys joined, so I was glad to have both of you in the group. Like Ryan said, I'm really glad to have even this mini community and the extended community as well. Is very gratifying to meet you guys. So thanks for joining. Thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was thinking the other day when you emailed me about this, I think I said we're way more powerful together than we are on our own. Yeah. If you were just going and doing your own thing and we were doing our own thing and we never talked and we never collaborate and we never get people together, we're just there's not that same amount of potency. But when we unify under a similar cause, I think that there's a lot that can happen, especially if that cause is based on the value of the individual rather than on some sort of group identity politics or some sort of other, ideological possession. But no, it's not that. It's unifying. It's using the good of tribalism rather than the bad side of it. And I think so often because we are in that Jordan Peterson community, we focus on the bad side of tribalism. But also and you might not even call it tribalism, but there's a lot of good that can be done in a group if we maintain the integrity of the individual within that group. So,
well, I also think, I totally agree with you. And I think that's the magic of collaboration. I mean, we're doing it right now, but in the group, everyone's doing it. As people join, tons of people come in with these really interesting questions that I can't necessarily answer myself, but then someone else will give a really good take on maybe how to get past it, or they've got some experience I don't have. And so they really are able to flesh out we're all smarter than, the collective is smarter than the individual. So we have tons of great people. And it also is it's really motivating too, to see that, I'm not just sitting in a room by myself, typing letters into a white box, while I'm doing future authoring. It's no, we're all doing this program. Everyone's really interested in it. We're all trying to improve our lives. We're not alone. And I think that's really just nice just to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love the feeling of one of the things that I learned in getting sober and going through 12-step meetings and groups is that unification is so, because when you're getting better for yourself, but you're also thinking like, everything I do is going to help the next person. Everything that I learn is going to make it easier for the next guy. So maybe they don't have to make the same stupid mistakes I made when they're, going through their own recovery process, because I've, shared like, here's my experience. Here's like where I stumbled clumsily and had to, remap things and try again. Yeah. And then they can be like, oh, like, great, thanks. Like maybe I can avoid that pitfall, or maybe the lesson will be a little less painful. So that's kind of what you're doing. You're saying, listen, here's a future authoring map. Here's how to go through all the self-authoring programs in a way that is the least painful. And I think that's beautiful that you've done that. And I think that we can all kind of unify and help one another in that way as we move towards a more meaningful existence.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. And I see what you're doing as well with your channel and all the different videos that pop up, all addressing different topics related to, in that same general vein. And
absolutely.
I mean, that's the beauty of being human, right? I can learn from everyone else's mistakes and also from everyone else's successes. And it's also just really gratifying too, to feel like there's people out there who understand. And I think that's a benefit for everyone in the groups too.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
I had a question actually that I wanted to ask that was a little off topic, but somebody in the group asked it a little bit before you guys joined. And I thought I had an answer, but I wanted to go straight to the horse for yours. And it was about your logo, which he was like, well, the logo is awesome. What is that? I was like, that is a super nice logo. And it looks like, what is it, an Ouroboros with a world tree inside of it?
Yeah. So I'll explain that a little bit. So so I really believe in the power of imagery and symbol. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one is because that symbol of the tree has gotten me through some very difficult times in my life. And that imagery for me encapsulates my life's meaning, the tree. And that's a place that I go in my meditation. That's a place that I envision. That's oftentimes when I don't know what decision to make in life, I literally just imagine what that tree would do. And it really works for me. Now you could wonder, like, is that a real magical tree that Ryan's encountering in his the world of his imagination, or in the world of some greater spirit? Or is it just a deeper psychic intuition within the confines of his own body, mind, brain, right? I think it's both personally, but I don't push that belief on anyone else, because the fact of the matter is, even if it was only a psychic projection of my own, neurological intuition, it wouldn't matter, because it still connects me deeply to something. I don't know what it is, but it works. Yeah. And so I picked the tree. And that my old podcast before I moved everything over here was the Soul Tree Project. It was kind of funny that I named it a project. I don't know why I named it project at first. And then when it ended, I realized, like, oh, well, a project has a beginning and an end. But then Mercury said, okay, I love the tree. I showed him the tree logo that we had done. He's like, but you got to add the Ouroboros around it. And so I'll let him explain that part.
Okay.
You're muted. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. What, do you really want to say something? Okay, you say something first, and then I'm going to answer the question. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Poopy.
Okay. There, you've said poopy. Now, run over and ride on your horse for a second. Yeah, and for me, it was just a gut feeling told me something needed to be added, and to go with the snake eating the tail, because the tree very well encapsulates Ryan and the world tree and the center, and the serpent being the edge of chaos and that outer rim of the world, which far more represents me. So even with the channel, Ryan is the solid center of this and the entire support column, and I am the madness off eating myself at the edge of the world.
Well, you need both, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's like day and night.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that imagery is so old too. I mean, that the what is it, Yggdrasil, the world tree in the Norse mythology, that the snake is always at the bottom. There's the serpent down at the bottom also. So like that image is, I mean, it describes you guys perfectly, but it describes a lot more than that too. That's really cool.
Yes, and one of the things that I'm doing with the people I'm working with, clients and so forth, is I'm helping them come up with what I call a soul image. And I would suggest everybody do this at some point in their future authoring or at some point in their life, in their reflection process, is to come up with an image that encapsulates your potential. Because what we're trying to live into when we're speaking ourselves forward into being, as Peterson said, we're trying to live into an image. And imagery is so powerful. Even in our Judeo-Christian tradition, we were made in the image of God. So images have something that it's almost more than a word. There's something more in an image that words can't explain. And so if you can find an image, what it does is it stimulates more of your body. It stimulates more of your brain. A verbal exercise is going to stimulate very specific parts of you. But if while you're typing, while you're doing your exercise, you're also envisioning, right? Envisioning a future. When I wrote my future authoring, I was imagining. I wasn't just thinking. I was imagining a whole story, a whole landscape of being. Yeah. And that involved relationships, and that involved symbolism, and that involved images of success and friendship and whatever. And when I did that, it made the exercise much more powerful. But when I say a soul image, it can be like a totem animal. It can be a tree. It can be the Ouroboros. It can be whatever. It can be the ocean. It doesn't matter. But it's something that if you close your eyes and you envision that, and you almost like it's right in front of you, it gives you an experience. It gives you a sensation of meaning. And then if you can start to identify your own first-person experience. So now when I envision the tree, I'm actually becoming the tree. I can feel in my imaginal realm, I can feel my feet becoming the roots, and I can feel my, the upper body going up into the limbs. And it expands my whole sensation. It expands my whole perception of life. And it really makes a huge difference for me. I find myself to be more confident in that image. I find myself to be more in a flow state. I find that my daily interactions with people go more smoothly. And generally more synchronicity seems to happen, more meaningful things happening at meaningful times. And so then again, you could ask yourself, well, is that a spiritual phenomena, or is Ryan just programming his brain to be more aware of opportunity? And I, again, think it's both, but we could look at it one way or the other, and they would both be valid. Because from a neuroscience perspective, your prefrontal cortex is programming your reticular activating system, which is responsible for filtering out all your opportunities, all your threats and promises, everything that could hurt you and everything that could help you. So if you have an image that's programming your brain that encapsulates a sense of meaning and potential in your higher self, you are actually going to see your whole entire world differently. So anyways, that's my imagery spiel. But
yeah, no, it's really cool. I agree. I mean, I think that ties in a little bit to, I think everybody who's talking about, developing yourself personally is to some degree aiming at the same thing, as long as they're aligned, philosophically on what the right aim is. And what you're describing as, an image or your soul image is like what I think of as kind of like your character. And then, that's why my company is called the Character Arc, because I feel like character, that word is so powerful. It is an image. It's an image of it encompasses more than just a person or an individual. What it does, it gives you a whole network of traits and types and parts of a person that actually can commingle with with you. And so if you're looking towards the future, like as if you're looking towards a character that's someone other than yourself, but who incorporates everything about you, you're also, building yourself into being, like you said, like you're actually doing something to progress that is in line with what you want. And like you said, who you want to be, as opposed to just, I have to transform or be someone else.
Yes. Yeah. I like the analogy of a seed, and that seed has potential to become a tree. but it's not just going to become a tree without being in the right soil with the right environment. And then the next question is, what kind of tree is it going to become? Is it going to be a huge, flourishing, beautiful tree? Is it going to be a small, sick tree that always struggled against the environment and never had the proper nurturing? So what kind of nurturing am I giving the seed of my potential? Mm-hmm. And that is ultimately going to decide how much fruition I can bring myself into. Like, look at Jordan Peterson. Mm-hmm. Imagine him at my age, 25 years old. He had a lot of potential. He had high intelligence. He had deep connection to the world of the mythology and meaning and existential philosophy. But imagine if he never sorted himself out. Mm-hmm. And so he would just be this unused potential, which would have been tragic, because look at the difference he's making now. Yeah. So I kind of look at it that way.
And because Violet's quiet for a minute, I'd like to pop in a couple things. You were talking about the power of imagery for a while. And even when you were talking about your tree, you were saying, I don't know if that's something real or if it's just something in my psyche. But as far as these powerful images and symbols go, if you just look at what they do to you, it's real. And like everything you talked about with what you can do with the image of the soul tree, the emotional effect that has on you, like if that was a pill that gave you that effect, you'd be like, wow, this is a great pill. That's real medicine.
Absolutely.
The effect of these images is incredibly strong. And I would also tie that into, what do you want, you little stinker? You little... For Peterson, one of his big moments was, I think he'd said, like, he came home from drinking one night and did a painting where he didn't have any plan as to what he was going to do. And he just ended up doing a painting of Jesus, I think, with a snake around his waist. And he said the actual image, like, actually really disturbed him. And his own image he created had a really strong effect on him. And he said he had to put that image away. But it was the act of painting that really drove him to say, okay, I've got to sort myself out. And that was when he realized that if he was going to take his intellectual pursuits seriously, he was going to have to stop drinking. Yeah. And it was that image that he himself created that had that really powerful effect. Yeah. I'm going to zip off and occupy her for a minute, but while still listening. But I wanted to leave two questions. One, to you, Khemit. Did self-authoring sort you out? Like, did you do the program and put yourself together? Or did you just come across it and you're just encouraging others? And for you, Ryan, I know we got one other person write in about the sacred flip, and that person could only join if we had a pair. Do you think Khemit might be interested in doing the course? I know he doesn't need to work on himself to the degree others do, but he might be interested in what you have to teach in the sacred flip.
That would be awesome. Yeah, well, let's talk about that. But why don't you answer the first part?
And I'm going to listen, but...
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I'd like to hear what that means. Those words in that combination I've never heard before, but that's I'm assuming that has something to do with your course, Ryan. But yeah, for me, self-authoring was something I stumbled upon after I had done a lot of other work in other areas. I've done like a lot of. I got fascinated with this stuff. I think I told my story a little bit last time we were talking about how when I was in college, this is many years ago now, I had some really dark times and things were not going so well. And I started really researching and trying to figure out what are the ways that a person can put themselves together. And after stumbling around clumsily for a long time, I ran across some things that were really, really useful to me. I read some things that changed my life and helped transform everything about how I see the world. And, things didn't magically become amazing overnight, but steadily over time, the effect of exposing myself to those things, facing those particular dragons, actually has helped me to put myself together to a degree that I can tell is so much further than I would have been had I not undertaken that challenge. So again, I like the rule, compare yourself to who you are, to who you were yesterday, as opposed to somebody else, who somebody else is today. Yeah. And so for me, that's really that's really the key. Like for me, I feel like I've put myself together to the point where I like to try to extend out like tentative tendrils into the world to see what I can do. But I by no means think that, I somehow have achieved some point of enlightenment that other people don't have. But I do have some experience that some people don't have. And when I came across future authoring and the self-authoring suite, and Jordan Peterson's work more broadly, it made me realize that there was, well, one, I thought that he was so magnificent at explaining these things and encapsulating them in a really easily digestible format that for people to maybe take a shortcut, the thing that took me 20 years could maybe take someone a much shorter amount of time because they've condensed it into this program, the future authoring program, and the self-authoring suite more broadly. So, I also, I have a course of my own that I've been working on for, it's been a little over a year. And so that is something else that I felt was very interesting, was some of the interplay between Jordan Peterson's ideas, or, the ideas that he espouses and spreads, and what I was doing. And so both those things really made me want to help people to get to, to be exposed to his work, to get to a place where they could have some of the same benefits that I'd had for myself.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you're also a veteran, right?
I am, yes. Yeah, Air Force.
Yeah. Man, I've been connecting with a lot of vets lately, like who are into psychology, like 4 or 5, I think, that are just brilliant people such as yourself. And it's been really, it's been fantastic. And it feels really meaningful to see that demographic of people, that subcategory, really branching into these meaningful engagements. So I just wanted to say that's really cool.
Well, I actually, just to make a point about that, one of the things I noticed about being in the military, it wasn't exactly like a really like tight, amazing fit for me. Like I'm highly open and very authority averse, especially in my youth. And so both those things don't necessarily lend themselves to being like a good soldier or airman. But, but I also was good. I could do my job well and all those things, but I didn't feel, like that was where I wanted to be. But it was amazing for me. And I think this is one of the things that the military is great for, is that, and Jordan Peterson talked about this a little bit in his talk with General McChrystal, but it's one of the few places in the US, where people come from all over the place and are forced to not just live together, but work together from all different walks of life, from all different race, colors, and creeds. And so you have to sit down with people who you most likely disagree vehemently with on certain things. And not only do that, but get along with them and maybe realize that, oh, they're a person too. And maybe they have some ideas that are different than mine, but they also have agency, and maybe I can readjust the way I look at the world. And especially looking at the climate of, conversations in the US right now, I feel like that I'm so glad I had that experience, because it definitely took me out of whatever box I was in, and exposed me to more. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I love all the work you're doing. I think it's great. And I think that you're a great example of bringing personal entrepreneurship together with doing good for the world, being of service. I think that combination is just so sacred, and I love it when I see people do that, because you're creating such value. I mean, look at your website, the character arc. Look at your self-authoring collaboration group. Look at your history and all the things that you've learned that brought you up to this point, and you're choosing to do something meaningful. I mean, if you wanted to you could be doing a lot of different things, with a high level of intelligence, post-military experience. There's a lot of things you could be doing, and you're choosing to do something that's going to, particularly help people sort themselves out. So I think that's fantastic, and I appreciate it. Yeah, but let me just answer Mercury's question. Oh, we got a couple comments. Hold on, I'm going to read these. The Catch Productions. Mercury is so right. Those personal images win gold medals, help people compose music, write books. We see the fruit of the imagery in your action. That's fantastic. Wonderful. Sally. Hey, Sally. I know Mercury told you this, and you got my email. I'm a little behind on emails, everyone. So if you've emailed us and I haven't responded, I'm sorry. I will catch up. But Sally, your art is just fantastic. You sent us some beautiful art. So we're really excited about that. And I know Mercury responded to that in depth the other day. But you say you bought the self-authoring, spun out doing the past authoring. Really want to finish. I've been journaling since 2005, seriously though, since 2007. Really resolved really resolved journaling saved me in multiple issues. That's great. Good thing about the service is that you suddenly have something in common with people of different backgrounds. So why are you here? Basic is weird. Yep. Issue doesn't fit anyone. LOL. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I want to make a quick note. If for people who are working on past authoring but have the whole suite, or they're working on present, if you want to just take a 1 week and step out and do future authoring, I say still join the challenge. You're going to get to future at some point anyway, so why not now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the sacred flip, just to address Mercury's question, it's essentially a process that I've developed throughout my understanding of the science of transformation. How do we change? How do we grow? How do we come into a deeper contact with meaning and livelihood in our lives? And one of the key elements that I've discovered through my work with Dr. Strachan and the Earth-Based Institute and other transformational institutions and mentors is that one of the key components is learning about your subpersonalities. And to really, not just the big five, that's a standardized model. It's a good start, but get into the minutia. If you have openness, there's about 300 different ways to be open. So what is your openness? What does that look like? So I have identified about 18 subpersonalities throughout my training, and they all have different motivations, agendas, and perspectives on being and the meaning of life and what they want and what they don't want. And at the center, I have the soul and my soul image, the soul tree. That's the individuation image. That's the symbol of transformation. That's what unifies the opposites, to speak in the alchemical Jungian sense, and brings them to that transcendent whole where you can live within harmony with all your different diversions and subsets without being torn and crucified in a way that is irreconcilable, but rather you accept that crucifixion of the self, which is the opposition between the different motivations and agendas within your subpersonalities. And then you learn how to use that as a cohesive force in your life, so that you're not being split. So, right, you don't have a psychic split that's harming you in the long run. You're actually able to integrate, and that's a lifelong process. That's the individuation process, and that takes lots of work. I'm still like in the deep process with all that. I'm still working with the different motivation, the parts of me that don't want to do this, the parts of me that really want to do this, and that's a lifelong journey, I think. I mean, I'm looking at Dr. Strachan as he approaches he's approaching his late 80s. He's 85 right now, and he's been doing this his whole life, and he's always still working with it. But the sacred flip is a process I learned painstakingly through the split of my psyche, through the parts of me that were in a cycle of reactivity, bitterness, resentment, and pain. And there was a cycle that was going on for me between three parts of myself, maybe four, but three, namely the young boy, or the inner child, the black hole, and the challenger. And the challenger was anger, challenging others, rebelling against, pushing against, fighting. The black hole was self-criticism, depression, and self-depletion. And the young boy was extreme sensitivity, playfulness, naiveness. And what would happen is I would go through this process where my young boy's sensitivity would drive a cycle of either reacting into the black hole or the challenger. So it would be either fuck you or fuck me. Those were the two options. Or both at the same time. I don't give a shit about myself, so I'm going to destroy this whole motherfucking room. And that's what it's going to be, because I don't care about you and I don't care about me. And then going from that to flipping it, the sacred flip, where you go to that soul image, you find that center within your psyche, and you repurpose the subpersonalities. Because in this model, you can't get rid of a part of yourself if it's a part of yourself. Now, there are things that we call introjects, and an introject is a message that you've gotten from the outside world that's been kind of like a splinter in your psyche. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Boys don't cry. So that's a psychic splinter. You can pull that splinter out, and it's no longer, it'll heal up. You don't have to swallow that message whole. But a subpersonality, as it stands, they're fundamentally inherent. So they're most likely genetic. I think the research is pointing towards that direction, and they're fostered by the environment, which solidifies them into a deeper being pattern. But the sacred flip is, how can you repurpose all the parts of your psyche? So it's not that I'm going to get rid of the challenger, the part of me that likes to get into that competitive engagement. But it's that, how could I give the challenger a purpose that is aligned with my deepest interests? So then now the challenger's job, and I've done this, and this is what the whole point of the sacred flip is to challenge things mindfully out of love and care, to serve the highest good, and only when they need to, and using minimal necessary force.
Right.
Now I still go back and relapse and slip up, and now the black hole's job, as hard as it is to give depression a job, for those of you who have endogenous depression, you know that it's very difficult to give it any sort of purpose, but the movement is tenderness, sadness, and grieving, which is a natural part of life. And so if the black hole can take on those aspects of reality, rather than just beating up on me for no reason, then it has something to do. But if it doesn't, and this is what I always say, if we don't give the subpersonalities a job, they will create their own job. So they're going to find something to do no matter what. The black hole is going to find something to preoccupy itself with. So the question is, can I give it something to do, like a little kid, like, hey, play with this instead of this? Or am I just going to let it go off and run its own agenda? And that's what the shadow is. The shadow is when we don't tend to the subpersonalities, and then they sneak through the back door and take things subtly through either aggression or what Jung would call unconscious dynamics. So that's what the sacred flip. It's a course that I'm running, and the course, we've got 7 people in it, and there is one spot open for anybody who wants to join. It's donation based, cool. Optional donation. So that's what that is.
Oh, cool, interesting. I like that idea, man. That's I feel I'm sensing that you're. I don't know the background of the stuff you've been studying, but it all seems perfectly in alignment with talks of repression and like shadow and integration and all the things that you mentioned.
Yes.
Like needing to take those parts of yourself that are working at odds with your goals and motives, and figure out some way of having them work towards your ends. I mean, that's so the way you're doing it. That's pretty unique. You have like kind of a unique vehicle for doing that. That's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, if anybody's interested, we have one spot left. You can email sortingmyselfout0@gmail.com. Also, I just want to bring it back to the object of this real quick. There is a 5-day challenge that Khemit is graciously hosting to do the future authoring. There is a link in the description as well as in the chat. I'm going to post it again so that y'all have it. So in this 5-day challenge, it's 20 minutes a day. It's really not a huge commitment. It's $15 to sign up for the future authoring suite on selfauthoring.com. And if you do the challenge and, like I said, you don't have much to lose, 20 minutes a day for $15 for 5 days, and you have a lot to gain, like Khemit pointed out. So I'm going to post that in the chat here again. It's also in the description.
Yeah, thanks. And, also, like I said, there's going to be a group that people can use to collaborate on the project with. There's going to be videos and support material that I'm creating for each day of the challenge. And there's going to be prizes too. So like I said, there's daily prizes and there'll be a grand prize at the end. So if you want to find out more about that stuff, join the challenge, or just, learn what we're going to be doing, feel free to sign up. And, it's going to be it's going to be an easy, no pressure kind of, like the pressure will be there, but it's alleviated to a great degree by the fact that we're all kind of in it together and just pushing through badly. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, man, go ahead, Mark. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
The prizes you're offering, do you have a sponsor supporting you, or?
No, not right now. I mean, maybe down the line, if like there's more interest and like this kind of does really well, then I might look into something like that. But
so are you just like going out of pocket to provide the?
Yeah, just for this iteration, I figured, I can make a small investment in order to hopefully see an equal and opposite, investment on the part of the people who are doing it. I think that if this pushes people to do it, then it's worthwhile. I mean, I couldn't do it every week, but I've had this group for a while, and I've seen the people in it, and I've seen what they have the potential to do if they can actually get through the program. And so I can sacrifice a little bit to try to push them forward as well.
That's beautiful. And I'd love to arrange another talk sometime when I am expecting it and don't have little ones running around distracting. But even sort of aside from the self-authoring collaboration group, I would be interested to hear just more about you and what led you to this point. But I think that's fucking beautiful, man, that you're like going out of pocket trying to help people here, and that energy just radiates out of you. Like, you're a beautiful person. I really appreciate that you're out there working to make the world a better place.
Hey, thanks very much. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'd love to come back on and talk. Ryan and I spoke last time about me wanting to come on and talk maybe more about some of the other things that I'm interested in, which I think tie into some things you're interested in, or both of you. Yeah. But I also heard you're a comic book guy, and like that's my life. So we can nerd out on that for a long time and some other time if you'd like.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm total comic book nerd. So definitely we could have all kinds of fun conversations, I think.
I saw a video. I was watching some of the videos of you guys before my last chat with Ryan, and you were talking to somebody about Alan Moore and some other things. And I was like, okay, this guy, I got to talk to this guy. So, yeah.
And another thing I want to say just about the Sacred Flip is me and Ryan, our initial relationship was he asked me to mentor him. And yeah, I felt I wasn't in a place of looking for new techniques or anything. I've developed my own system and I'm making good progress, but I was surprised how powerful his idea of the mandala is. And Ryan teaches me far more, I think, often than he even realizes. But as well as I had already learned to handle all of the insane forces within me, I think his model's really, really powerful and would work very well in combination with the self-authoring. So that just about anyone interested in self-authoring, who also is interested in the deeper components of psyche or spirituality, would be very interested in the Sacred Flip.
Yeah, well, we should definitely, have maybe we can collaborate on that as well. I mean, I still have the group, and all the people in it, I'm sure, are interested in things that relate to self-authoring and can maybe help them in other ways. I'm all about that.
Absolutely.
And especially when I see it's coming from people who are, obviously out for the good and obviously, interested in making things better for other people. So that's like, I'm all about that. That's my wheelhouse. And, I actually think the technique you were talking about is, it's interesting. I would like to hear more about it. And honestly, at a point when I've got a little less on my plate, I would definitely want to, maybe participate myself. It sounds really interesting.
Absolutely.
The part, we were talking about the sub-personalities and the fact that they have these different motivations and then you have to integrate them to some degree. I like to think of that, at least, in the framework of my course, we look at that as almost like something like a fatal flaw or like a hamartia, which fatal flaw is a little bit of a bad term because it makes it seem like that part of you is bad, but it's just a part of you. And it's something that has to be, almost exercised, right? Where you turn it towards the good. Yeah. And so that's how we use it. I think my framework has a similar bent as yours. And the vehicle that I use, I thought this might be of interest to you guys just conceptually, is I use stories. So we use movies in my course as that image, right? You said images have power. Movies are just a series of images playing, in continuity that at some point come together into a coherent story. And so when you're looking at, those stories, they're doing something to you, right? Like I was saying last time, they interact with you. And so by delving into that interaction, you can find out all these different things about yourself. Those things may be akin to what you're talking about when you talk about the sub-personalities. So really interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great that you use movies. Your course looks great. I looked at it online. I've got a comment here from Michael. I think it's an important one to read. Michael Adams. So after not knowing anything about my father since I was 6 months old, I just found out he may be in prison at 69 years old. I am 40, kind of struggling with this discovery. Like, who am I as a man when this is who I came from, ? And then I said, wow, Michael, that's intense. Thank you for sharing. And Michael says, yes, thanks. I think it has always been a deep desire to find out about him, and I am disappointed, but want to learn what happened that led him there. And then Catch Productions says, I have to go, gents, but thanks again for some awesome content. Big respect to you all. I will definitely follow you guys. Thanks, Catch Productions. Thank you for interacting. You've been great. And I really appreciate all your comments. But I just want to respond to Michael. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I think that's touching and very vulnerable. And wow, that sounds really intense. Do either of you have something that you'd like to say in response to Michael's kind of existential crisis here about his father?
Go ahead.
So I was going to say, I don't want to get into too many personal details, but I'll just say my 3 stepkids. It's like I have 4 kids. I usually never refer to the others as stepkids. They're all equally my children. But my 3 stepchildren don't know their father. And I don't think... I can understand how some people who have a parent they've never met may feel it's important to meet them. But to anyone out there who has a father that abandoned them or was taken away by prison or life circumstances, I don't think you need to define yourself by that parent. The people who have been in your life are the people that you should probably focus on. Now, there may be times where you feel a calling to find a parent and it is for the good. And maybe they need to hear from you, but I don't think, thank you so much. Here, I'll put that one here, okay?
I put it on my dog.
Okay, I will finish right there. Violet needs my attention for a second, so I will contribute that, and then I will listen as... and sorry, how do you pronounce your name? Is it Khemit?
It's Khemit.
Khemit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I will be back momentarily, but I'll be listening.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think, that's Michael who commented that. I think that's, that's the vulnerability there is being on display. I think that's a great, I think it's a great trait to have. I think a lot of people bottle things like that up and then they don't ever get the help they need, or they don't get to have different perspectives, and that doesn't help anyone. So, having thought about the past a lot, and the past influence on the present in my own life and in the lives of a lot of the people that I work with, one thing that I've realized is that anytime that you start trying to define yourself based on something that comes out of your past, then you generally are pointing in a direction that's counterproductive. And it may not be completely inaccurate, right? I think that the past has an effect on who you are and who you become. But at the same time, the only place that you can point your attention is toward the future. And I think that when you're looking at, your parents especially, and for me personally, my parents I'm fairly close with, but I wasn't always. And we only got to that point because of the fact that I let go of some of the expectations I had of them, because at the end of the day, your parents are people, and they're people who maybe have done things that they aren't proud of, or maybe things that they shouldn't be proud of, but are, and you don't know anything about those things, the struggles that people go through in their lives. And so when you're looking at them, I would say, don't judge too harshly, especially before you know everything that, went on. And 2, also don't judge yourself on the actions of anyone else. And so those 2 things together will maybe allow you to have a little bit of compassion for someone who maybe you could have a relationship with, if that's something you're interested in. And if not, it at least doesn't have to be a barrier to you moving forward. And
that's beautiful. And one last thing on that is, this kind of reminds me of Peterson's notion of rescuing your father from the belly of the whale, or the myth of Osiris and Horus, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so you said, Michael, that you want to learn what happened that led him there. And I think that's good. I think your curiosity, a lot of times our family lineage is part of our life purpose, going back and healing something within ourselves that was passed down through a lineage, through a story, through a myth, and integrating it into wisdom and passing that new legacy down to the future generations, so to speak. So to really be curious, I think it's good that you want to find out what happened. I think it's important that you follow your curiosity and follow the threads of pain that are hitting you hard, because those threads of pain are also the pain of your ancestors. That's the pain of your lineage. And if this is something that is bothering you, like Peterson says, if something's bothering you, then that is automatically now your problem. So while I agree with everything that they said about not letting it define you, I think that's absolutely imperative. I also think it's important to integrate whatever lost wisdom is hiding there for you. And how could you integrate your father's mistakes into learned wisdom? And I think that'll be an interesting hero's journey that you're being called to embark on. And I think that the fact that you're experiencing it as painful and scary, and you're having your own identity questions / maybe some parts of it might feel like a crisis, those are all callings into self-discovery, callings into integrating. So good luck on your journey, my friend. We wish you the best.
And I had one last thought on that, because I do find sometimes people who have, that long lost parent, and especially if you find out they're in jail or this or that. And yes, sometimes we do inherit things like, Ryan, your family gave you your lovely addiction that you got to contend with. But also our parents don't always define us. And so, for example, my dad is a normal, productive member of society. Like, my dad's the most grounded, hardworking guy you would ever want to meet. Nothing like me. My mom, while I love my parents and I can connect to them, I am almost a different species of entity from them. So don't worry about your parents defining you or not. You really are your own person. And yes, some of us absolutely are practically a slightly warped version of some of our parents. But I wouldn't worry anyone who finds out, especially because often if you've got a parent that you've never heard of, they probably had or never met, they're probably been in jail or have addiction issues or something else shitty because they weren't there for you. But I wouldn't let that hold you back. And each and every one of us really are our own person.
I agree. Absolutely. Cool. Wow. So any other questions in the chat? Anything else that you want to dive into, Khemit? How's your timeline looking?
I'm good with time. I got about 15 more minutes or so if there's questions or anything else, or if you guys had something you wanted to talk about. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So if anyone has any last second thoughts in the chat, we'll wrap up here in the next 15 minutes or so. Michael Adams is responding now. Hold on a second. Hold on. Michael Adams says, makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate the insight from all you guys. I think I would just like to meet or speak with him. Yeah, I would say follow that. I think that your intuition, that it's important. Because it's a part of your journey. It's a part of your soul's purpose. So I would follow that thread and just beware of over-identifying yourself with him, like Mercury and Khemit kind of alluded to in their own unique ways. So yeah, but Khemit, yeah, again, I just want to give everyone this 5-day challenge announcement. If people have joined us, after we talked about it, the 5-day future authoring challenge is something that Khemit Bailey has created. Khemit, of course, is the one who's here with us on this call, and he is doing a lot of things around the self-authoring programs. He's doing a self-authoring collaboration group on Facebook, which is doing very well. And there's a lot of active participations. I get notifications from them every day, seeing people asking questions, working on themselves. And he's also now doing this 5-day challenge that starts on June 3rd. And, he's just doing it to give. He's just doing it to provide. It's not like he's raking in cash here. So I think it's a great opportunity for everyone. Just go to selfauthoring.com and you can buy that future authoring program for $15. You can buy the whole suite, all 3 programs, for $29. And furthermore, this 5-day challenge is a group of people doing it badly. It's called the Do It Badly Challenge. So you're going to clumsily stumble forward together for 20 minutes a day for 5 days. And it's really a minimal commitment when you really think of it. So highly recommended. Let's see if we can get 100 people to sign up. I think that'd be fantastic. So click the link in the description or just scroll up here in the live chat. Is there anything you'd add to that?
Man, you really covered it. I would just add that, there's going to be a Facebook group, again, for support around the exercise. There'll be videos, and it's guided. So, don't feel like I'm just going to throw you to the wolves after you join the challenge. There's actually like a whole process that I plan to help kind of walk us all through as we go forward, so that you can actually, feel like you're not only doing the program, but also getting something out of it and getting some tips for when you do it again, if you choose to. And like I said before, there's also going to be prizes. So, sign up if you want to find out more about that. And
what are the prizes? Can you say those again?
Sure. Yeah. So Amazon gift cards will probably be the main prize for the first 5 days, but then at the end there's going to be a grand prize, and that's going to be for like the MVP adventurer, as I'm calling it. The person who is participating every day, who does post in the group to talk about their experience during the day of each day of the challenge, and then at the end is actually got a complete product. And the group will kind of decide together. I'm planning to basically crowdsource the prizes. Like each day, whoever's posts are doing the best, and whoever's seems to really be dedicating the most time and energy to it, those people win the prizes. And at the end, we can all kind of see who we want to get a grand prize, and that'll be something that I'll probably announce later in the week. I got some ideas, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
Yeah.
We also might do Jordan Peterson merch. Like somebody asked about a hat. A
lobster hat.
We may have a few things like that as well. So that's still in the works. But if you want to find out more and keep updated, then just join the challenge. And the link should be in the description, right?
And then, yeah, it's in the description and it's in the live chat. And then, as if it couldn't get any better, if you want, you can come on Sorting Myself Out as an audience guest and tell us about your future authoring results a few weeks from now or a few months from now. So, go do it and then get some experience with it, and then send us an email. It's in the description, sortingmyselfout0@gmail.com. And we'll do a full interview with you about what you're learning, what you're struggling with. We might even have Khemit come on with us and do the interview with us, so we can all have a future authoring collaboration talk. So, we're just going to continue to support each other as a community. And any of you that ever want to come on and talk about what you're working on, you're always welcome to.
That's awesome, man. You guys are doing really great work over there.
Thanks, you too. Well, I think that's everything. I think we can wrap up. Mercury, any last second thoughts? No, he's just playing with Violet. So looks like he's trying to unmute his computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I have plenty I'd like to say to Khemit, but all of it would lead into long discussions, so I don't think...
Somebody took his flower.
Somebody took my flower? Who was it? Grandpa? I think it was you. So thanks for coming on again, and yeah, I'd love to talk to you sometime when we're expecting it, and I can give you my full attention. So let's talk again soon sometime. But and thanks for reaching out for us. I think your project and ours mesh together fantastically.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, so we got a couple of people that have said they're signed up, so that's fantastic.
Ryan, Violet has something to say.
Okay, hi Violet.
You.
You what, me?
Love you.
Oh, I love you too. That's so sweet. You just made my day.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, I'll see all those folks who signed up next week, and as the group kind of builds itself out. And really good to talk to you guys. Thanks again for having me on.
Absolutely. Last thing I'll say to everyone, I'm going to be annoying because it does help the channel. If you want to, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you feel like it does help the channel, hit that algorithm so we can continue to spread this message. So it's just one of those things. We got to play the YouTube game. All right, everyone, take it easy and have a wonderful day. That was a great discussion.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you later.
Booby.